I'm a college freshman now, but what happened during my senior year of high school still sends chills down my spine. I had returned home for a funeral last week, and that's when everything came rushing back, especially him. It was an ordinary study hall. I was in the school library working on a computer since mine at home didn't have the software I needed, JCreator, for a programming assignment. There were only 2 PCs with that setup, and the other seat was already taken. He was sitting there tall, ghostly pale, with jet black hair that draped over one eye. He wore an anti-flag t-shirt, a worn-out jean jacket, and heavy Doc Martens. I'd seen him in my classes always alone, always silent. He never spoke to anyone. When I sat beside him, he looked up at me like I'd just invaded his world. His gaze was sharp, almost hostile. I quickly looked away and started rummaging through my bag to avoid eye contact. Then I heard something. A low chuckle followed by a quiet mumble. I froze mid-motion. Maybe he was talking to himself. Programming can make anyone mumble in frustration. Trying to break the tension, I said lightly, "She gives way too much homework. I can barely keep up." He didn't even turn his head. His eyes stayed glued to the screen as he replied, "You want the answers, don't you?" I let out a nervous laugh. "Nah, I won't learn anything that way." Truthfully, I might have said yes to someone else, but his cold stare still burned in my memory. He chuckled again, but this time it sent a shiver down my spine. Something about that laugh was wrong. Then I blinked, and he was gone. His seat was empty. No footsteps, no goodbye, just vanished. Strangely, he'd left behind a flash drive, an unusual one like a Swiss Army knife with a built-in USB stick. I waited until the bell rang, but he never came back. I figured I'd just return it to him in class the next day. He never showed up. Not the next day. Not ever again. At first, no one thought much of it. He was known for skipping school, but as the weeks turned into months and graduation approached, it became clear he was gone. I'd forgotten all about the flash drive until just 2 days ago. I needed a USB stick for a business class presentation, and remembered his was still in the little box above my bed. I scanned it for viruses clean. I figured I'd erase everything and use it, but curiosity got the better of me. The first folder was labeled Computer Science. It had every answer to every assignment we'd had that year. I thought maybe he meant to give this to me. Maybe he knew he wasn't coming back. Then came the music folder, just 3 tracks. Running on Empty, White Rabbit, and Helter Skelter. Not what I expected, eerie in retrospect. Next, there was a nameless folder. Inside, documents from AP Literature, essays, notes, random scribbles, but one file stood out, the best doc. I opened it. 10 pages, all handwritten, repeating his full name over and over and over, line after line. That's when things turned dark. There were dozens of photos, emergency exit maps from classrooms, a lit cigarette smoldering on the bathroom floor, a pile of coins next to a post. It note that read, "Chump Change," in all caps, and then a photo of me. I was reading a book in what looked like my English class, A class. He was never in. One last file, Rest in Peace 2. The title alone gave me goosebumps. I opened it. It was empty. I don't know if it was a prank, a cry for help, or something more sinister, but one thing's for sure, he was never seen again, and I'll never plug in that flash drive again. This happened a few years ago when I was 12. I'm 15 now, and even though time has passed, what happened that night with my best friend still lingers in the back of my mind like a shadow I can't shake. My friend, we'll call her Allie, and I had been inseparable since the 2nd grade. Weekends meant sleepovers, board games, and our shared obsession with all things paranormal. We convinced ourselves every house we stepped into was haunted. Ghost hunting became our weekend ritual. Armed with nothing more than a shaky old flip phone and a big imagination, we mimicked the shows we'd binge watch on TV. But there was one night, one moment that changed everything. It was sometime around midnight. The energy was high, like it always was during our late night hangouts. We were wide awake, giddy, and bored, so naturally we decided to go ghost hunting in my house. This time felt special, though we were using my dad's touchscreen phone to film, a serious upgrade from the flip phone. We were certain we were about to catch something real. Now, the house I lived in back then had one of those old, creepy basements that looked like it was frozen in time. At the bottom of the stairs was a large storage room, dusty, cluttered, and rarely touched. Next to it was the laundry room, and beyond that, a tiny, eerie chamber that looked like a cell. No one ever went into that last room. It always felt wrong. With the phone recording and Allie by my side, we crept down the stairs and started asking the typical ghost hunter questions. You know, is anyone here, or give us a sign. We got nothing, just silence and static. Eventually we got bored and headed back upstairs. In my room, buzzing with excitement, we watched the footage, fully expecting to find something, but it was all normal. No movement, no sounds, not even a flicker. Disappointed, we almost pretended something was there, just to keep the fantasy alive. But this time we didn't want to fake it. We wanted it to be real. Unable to sleep, we played a few board games. Then we decided to give the footage one more look. That was our mistake. This time, as we watched more carefully, the entire vibe shifted. A heaviness crept into the room, a feeling we hadn't noticed earlier. As we leaned in, we heard it footsteps, and they didn't belong to either of us. Then we saw it. In one frame, the camera was pointed at Allie, and just behind her, half shrouded in darkness, was something, a shape, a distorted figure, vaguely human, but twisted in a way that made your skin crawl. Its eyes, they were a blinding white, not glowing but sharp, like they were looking through the screen. Watching us, we slammed the phone down. Neither of us said a word. There was nothing to say. We just sat there shaking. We didn't wake my dad. We didn't tell anyone. It became our secret one we never shared until now. We never set foot in that basement again, not even during the day, even now, years later. Allie and I sometimes talk about it. We've both had dreams about that thing, its eyes, its presence. I still don't know if it was a trick of the light, our young imaginations playing games, or something else entirely. But whatever it was, we caught it on camera, and I never want to see that footage again. It was Halloween 2014. My name's Max. I grew up in a quiet little town just outside Findlay, Ohio. I went to Van Ban High School 10 minutes from home, a peaceful place surrounded by woods, cornfields, and old habits. But like most small towns, there were shadows hiding in plain sight. And if you ever wanted to find something unsettling, Van Ban State Park was where you'd start looking. The park wasn't unknown to me. My friends and I spent countless hours there, riding bikes through trails, fishing by the lake, and even pulling off stupid pranks like making soda bombs in the woods. It was our stomping ground. Nothing bad ever happened. Until that Halloween, I was a senior, then recently enlisted in the Army National Guard, and staying fit had become a priority. That afternoon, I texted my buddy Ian. He liked working out too, and asked if he was up for a trail run after school. He was in. We agreed to meet at the park. I pulled into the gravel parking lot a little after 4 p.m. That's when I saw it, an old weathered silver car already parked there, and inside was this man, bald, pale, and wrong. Something about him didn't sit right. He wasn't moving, just sitting there staring directly at me, eyes locked, not blinking. His face was unreadable, half grimace, half grin, like he was trying to decide what he'd do if I got any closer. I tried to brush it off, gave a polite nod, but he didn't stop watching, not even for a second. Every instinct screamed, leave. I backed out of the lot and drove off fast, but when I checked my rearview mirror, he was right behind me. That's when I floored it, racing to my high school's parking lot to lose him. I called Ian, warning him not to meet me at the park. That's when my phone buzzed with a message that made my blood run cold. Here, he was already there. I turned around and raced back, and sure enough, when I pulled in, I saw Ian's car parked just 2 spaces away from it. Was that same silver car, the same man. Still staring, I nodded at Ian and motioned for him to follow me. We drove to a second lot deeper into the park, hoping to avoid him. The coast seemed clear, so we parked and walked down the hill to check the trailhead. As we made our way back up, I caught movement in the corner of my eye. The silver car circling the lot, slowly looking from where we were on the slope. He couldn't see us, but we could see him. We stayed low, waiting. Eventually, the car vanished, gone silent. Ian and I stood there uncertain, but we were both athletes, fit and capable, so against better judgment, we decided to run the trail anyway. Still, I grabbed a rock and kept it tight in my fist just in case we never saw him again that evening, and we still have no idea what he wanted. But given the park's dark history, the whispers of disappearances, assaults, I have my suspicions. That man wasn't out there for fresh air. Now I'm in the National Guard studying at Bowling Green, but when I visit home, I sometimes take late-night drives. I pass by Van Ban State Park, and when I do, I always keep a knife in my car, just in case he's there still watching. So take it from me, if you're heading out into the woods, don't go unprepared. Stay alert, stay safe, and whatever you do, never go alone. In my bedroom, right beside my bed, there's a storage closet, but not the kind you're probably picturing. This one doesn't have a normal door. Instead, it's just a large flat panel without hinges or a knob. You remove it by gripping the sides and pulling it away. No locks, no latches, just friction holding it in place. Let me take you back a few years when I was 19. The first time it happened, I didn't think much of it. I woke up one morning and noticed the closet panel had fallen off and was resting against the wooden frame of my bed. It wasn't unheard of. Since the panel just sat inside the frame, it had occasionally come loose before I picked it up, pushed it back into place, and went about my day like nothing had happened. But the next night something changed. I jolted awake around 4 a.m. thinking I'd heard something. The room was silent, but when my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I saw it again. The closet panel resting against the edge of my bed. Now I was starting to get uneasy. Maybe the wall's frame was wearing down or the door just wasn't fitting like it used to. I told myself it was nothing, left it alone for the night, and fixed it again in the morning. The night after that was worse. I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned for hours. Something just felt off. Then around 2 or 3 in the morning, I heard a loud thud. My heart jumped. I didn't need to look. I knew what it was. The panel had fallen again. I sat up annoyed, staring into the darkness, but then I heard it, the faintest crinkle of plastic. It came from inside the closet. There was no draft in the room. No reason anything in there should be moving. I felt a cold chill run up my spine. My hand trembled as I reached for the light switch beside my bed. Click. Light flooded the room, and that's when I saw him. Someone was inside the closet, crouched, eyes wide, staring right at me from between the clutter. We locked eyes for a split second, just long enough to burn the image into my memory. Then he flinched like he thought hiding would undo what I'd just seen. I couldn't even move. All I could do was scream, "Dad!" My shout echoed through the house. Within seconds, my dad was in my room. I couldn't even speak. I just pointed at the closet. He didn't hesitate. He stepped inside, pushed things around, looked behind boxes, moved everything. No one was there. I started doubting myself. Maybe I had imagined it, maybe I was dreaming. Still, I refused to sleep in that room. I grabbed a blanket and crashed on the floor in my parents' room. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying that stare in my head. And then something happened that erased all doubt. We heard my bedroom door creak open, followed by fast footsteps running down the hallway. Then the front door flung open and slammed shut. My parents were up in seconds. We all rushed to the front door, but whoever it was had vanished into the night. Later, we found out where he'd been hiding. There was a large empty storage container in the back of my closet, one we hadn't touched in years. He had curled himself up inside it. I still don't know how long he was there, or how many nights I slept just inches from a stranger watching me from the dark. That was another true story. If you're still watching, you're one of the brave ones. Most don't make it this far. Subscribe to Horror Stories and hit the bell because the next horror stories drop soon.